We have heard so many incredible stories in the last several days, stories of survival, stories of why some people lived, some people died in New York City when the trade centers were attacked. Our next guest is Ron Scott. Ron was working at the MetLife financial offices, 89th floor of the Tower Number 1. The first plane, of course, crashed and the floors directly above him. Ron, you and a lot of your colleagues made it out alive. You keep asking yourself why, how?
Lester, I'll tell you, it was sheer determination and just... I think we have a picture of my daughter. It was just seeing that face and her prayer beads from her first Holy Communion.
That was on your desk?
Absolutely.
That picture was on your desk?
Well, actually a larger picture of that. That was safe and sound at home, but there was an aura around my daughter after we'd been shaken and all our ceilings collapsed from being hit literally no more than 3 floors below the impact.
And you knew you had to get out?
Knew we had to get out. I saw that picture. I reached for my car keys thinking, well, when I get to New Jersey, I've got to get home safe and sound. Although I felt at any moment the desk would be sliding over the edge of the 89th floor, grabbed my keys, and I was mesmerized by my daughter's picture, and it seemed like a halo or an aura was around her. And what seemed like hours was no more than a second or two, and I focused on that.
You grabbed that picture and went down the stairs with your coworkers.
Actually, we couldn't even get down the stairs. We rallied support, pulled everybody together. We pried open our front door, and if you've ever tried to open one of the doors to any of the inner offices, those are pretty heavy doors. They're bomb-proof, fireproof. They must weigh 50 pounds easily.
Was there a moment when you thought, we're not going to make it out of here?
Lester, I'll tell you, that came probably about an hour, 30 minutes later when we were rocked down on the 7th floor. Now, we were single file.
An hour and a half to get to the 7th floor?
From the time of the first impact, which I guess was just before 9, to about 10:30 when I hit the ground, because my MetLife watch kept ticking, and every half an hour I checked it to make sure myself and the watch were still there.
Many people would assume that once you got far below the fire floor that you're going to be okay. Did the thought that the building would come down ever cross your mind?
Never. As a matter of fact, backing up a moment, first of all, I just want to say I'm not here to glorify anything I did. My coworkers were fantastic. I'm one of the agency directors along with Bob Sabarium, Jim, Rick, and Nathan. We have a great, close-knit office. In no time did anyone panic. As a matter of fact, I had them singing songs going down through the flames and the fire. We were under about a foot of water.
You took some steps to protect yourself from the smoke, I understand.
Absolutely. Well. I went into the Drinker Biddle law office next door, which didn't have a crack in it, by the way. We were on the high-rent district on the exterior corners of the building facing Trade Center 2. As a matter of fact, no more than a second after impact and all our ceilings collapsed in unison. Turned to the window and saw something the size of a jet engine blow right past my window. It looked like the sun. The fire, as large and as close as I was sitting to you, blew right past the window I was next to, facing World Trade Center 2. So I hopped on the ledge, and if anybody knows me, this is the God's honest truth. I'm the biggest coward there is when it comes to height. I get to the first floor and I get nervous. It took me a week, 3.5 months ago after I transferred, to be able to look out and straight down the 89th floor. So I hopped on the interior ledge while my plants were lined up in a neighboring office, pressed my face against the glass to see flames shooting from the top of our window. And the windows, as you know, are pretty tall and lean. They've got to be at least 5 to 6 feet tall. So I hopped back. Seconds later, I heard glass shattering from the floors above us.
You knew it was an airplane?
90s.
You knew it was an airplane?
We had no way of telling. We had no TV, no radio to access.
But you knew you had to get out?
We knew we had to get out. We pried the front door open, rallied for support, calmed everyone down, myself and the management team, and we went into the flames and smoke as black as night.
Did you know at any point that the second building had been hit?
Not at all. We felt the blast. As a matter of fact, we ran when the fire exit was totally blocked from the exterior door leading into the stairwell. We went back away from the flames, from the service elevators and the water and the sparks, ran back into the law firm across the hall, and we started calling our families. And as a matter of fact, you may have access to that on tape. I just told my family to stay cool. We were waiting for backup. We were waiting for fire and rescue. Something happened in building 2, which is what I firmly believed at that point. And I just said, I'll be home tonight, don't worry. And I hung up.
You have this sitting here. This is
that was my pass to the
ID.
World Trade Center. They took that 3.5 months ago. Happiest day was my first day on the job.
So you've got the pass here.
Absolutely. I've got the pass.
I'll hold it up here.
Certainly.
You got this, and then your daughter's picture. That's all you came out with.
That's it. And my car keys. And my lucky penknife from MetLife Convention last week in Atlantic City.
Ron, let me ask you this. As you know, many firemen, firefighters are missing. You're going down the stairs. What did you see coming up the stairs?
Lester, we encountered the first fireman south of floor 76, and the reason I preface floor 76, we were totally blocked. There was some sort of plaza on 76, a two-story, where the building basically is split in two. That's where the elevator banks part company. You had to take two elevators to our floor, which was 89. It was a long trip from the lobby. On floor 76, we encountered people screaming from an elevator just above us. And security guards, the first time we saw any presence in the building, told us, get out of here, do not stay with us, leave at all costs. We transferred across floor 76 down to another stairwell and encountered the first police and fire and rescue teams on 70. I don't know if you have children, but people look like babies. They must have been in their late 20s, the firemen. We stopped them dead in their tracks. They were pretty surprised to still see people coming down. And they collapsed at our feet, as a matter of fact. And every other floor, we were pretty happy-go-lucky. We made it through the floor. Floor after floor, I told people, don't worry, we'll be back in a few weeks. We'll get new office furniture, new PCs. Tried to keep it really upbeat and positive so no one panicked. The rest of the management team did as well. And we saw these, literally, I call them, hope no one gets offended, baby-faced firefighters. They look like somebody's younger brother from high school.
But they climbed up 76 stories at that point.
Well, at that point, just 70, and they were red as that coffee mug, and one collapsed at my feet. So as everybody left the floor, I tried to help him, and I pulled off a huge oxygen cylinder. Had to be 3.5 to 4 feet before it hit the ground with he attached to it, and he couldn't breathe. And I tried to get him to his feet, but he even said, "Go on, get out of here. You've got to leave the building now." And I caught up with the rest of the people from my office and reassembled myself to one of the senior clerical assistants, Carmela Fischetti. And Mike Cherto and myself continued to help her down the remainder of the 70 floors of the building until we hit floor 70, and there was some sort of rocking from the basement. It could have been gas lines exploding, and we were thrown to the ground at that point. And to answer your earlier question, that's really the first time we really felt that we were in serious, serious grave danger, 7 floors above the street. And this had to be maybe 10 minutes before the building went down, 15 minutes tops.
And so you got out, the building goes down. How far away were you when it went down?
Actually, we were diagonally across the street. The EMTs and the medics were on the side of the World Financial Center. We went out to the front of the building, got Carmela in an ambulance. Mike and I ran for our lives because now people were passing us like they were on a high school track meet. And as I was running forward and looking back over my shoulder, we saw the tail end of one more person, gruesome scene, leaping to his death. And I saw the top of the TV antenna go down, and I saw the building start imploding, including my floor, which was totally engulfed in flames. Horrible sight.
And the firefighters you saw go up.
Firefighters
got down? Are
definitely the bravest people in the world. I pray to God that they're under their oxygen tanks and their tri-cornered steel or iron pry bars, and hopefully they're still huddled together under a steel desk or even a solid steel doorway, because they're survivalists.
We know that in stressful situations, people are capable of doing incredible things. Do you view people, the human spirit, all those things differently after going through what you've been through?
To be quite honest with you, Lester, I was so happy to transfer back to Manhattan, obtain a promotion for the company after 21 years. And I spent 3 years in Manhattan, so I'm pretty much a good judge of character. Who you can get along with and so forth. I tried to be upbeat on the PATH train and the subways in New York City. I'm pretty adaptable rather to any situation. And I'll tell you, the people in New York City were incredible after this. The fire, the rescue, the EMTs, the people in New York. If I could just take one moment.
Sure.
Gail Kirschenbaum, who came to my aid hours later when I know I was in a stupor leaving the site. Eileen, sorry if I mispronounced your name, Ketor. Perla Mercedes, Mara Lakakis. Paul was involved in the Francis Tavern building in the early 70s, if you recall that.
These are the heroes.
Site.
These are the everyday heroes.
Those are the people that came to my aid hours later as I was staggering in a stupor.
Answer me this. I'm going to grab your daughter's photograph here. This was the photo that you focused on, that you say got you down.
That's the photo that got me through it all.
Tell me about when you saw Ashley that evening.
I saw Ashley that evening. It's literally my wife greeted me with my father-in-law, Joan and John Battleland, at the train station, and I know Mom and Dad Scott were crying their hearts out at home. But I saw Ashley, and it's like everything came back to me instantly. Everything that calmed me down had really excited me seeing my family once again when I got back to New Jersey.
And did they know? You had been in contact with them before you made it home? Did you guys
Actually, I made a call shortly after, probably within about 10 minutes after the first plane hit. And at that point, we'd switched on transistor radio in I believe it's Drinker, Biddle, and Reith, the law firm across the hall. And we'd taken on as one of our own in the team their receptionist, a young lady at the front desk. And we all said our goodbyes, but I tried to even keep that upbeat and positive. I'll be home, and don't worry. There's a minor fire in the building. We hear a plane had hit it. We didn't know how large, how severe. We said, we'll wait for fire and rescue. We were on the 89th floor. We just said, let's sit tight. Our side of the building was demolished. The law firm didn't have a picture out of place. So we had no way of telling, what lie ahead.
The rest of America is grieving and angry and sad and all those many emotions. What do you want to do? What do you want to do about this?
Lester, to be quite honest with you, I just want to see as many firefighters rescued as possible. I said on a news broadcast shortly after the building went down, I don't hold a grudge against anyone. For me to pick up the pieces and try and reconcile with my coworkers on Monday is tied for #1 priority right now with getting my life back on track and seeing as many grieving families out there be reunited with their families. And that's my main reason for being here tonight.
Ron Scott, your story is an incredible one, and we've heard so many like it, folks who have those moment-by-moment decisions determine, in many cases, who made it and who didn't. I just wanted to ask you, was there any point, and we've heard sometimes in high-rise buildings where they say, you're better off staying because of the steel and concrete.
Exactly.
Was there any point where you said, maybe we should wait?
Lester, we just knew with the black acrid smoke within minutes, maybe even seconds after the blast, and the flames and the water, which had to be over a foot deep. But by the time we left the office, by the time the second jolt, and we couldn't reach anybody in the building for backup, we had no way of telling what lay ahead. So we voted together just to go down together, and we made a human chain. I soaked coffee filters. People had filters soaked in bottled water. We took breaks, keeping calm, rating the Diet Snapple machines, my favorite, all the way down. And with bottled water and Snapple, helping the firefighters between the 70th floor, the 65th. We saw all the brass, all the top brass there. Great human beings, and we just kept our wits about us, and then just made it out alive with Carmela in between Mike's shoulder and my shoulder, and there, but for the grace of God, go I.
Ron, thanks for sharing your story. It's an incredible one, and we are so glad you were here to talk to us. All right. As you mentioned, we are all hoping, of course, for the firefighters, many of whom have not been heard of since that Tuesday when Tower 1 was struck.